76ers. 10, 9, 8, 76ers.
What's going on, everyone? This is UK 76ers. My name is Ben Glassport, and the Philadelphia 76ers have beaten the Miami Heat again by 125 points to 108. We're going to go into the game, of course, like we always do, but I was going to talk about Ben Simmons. Obviously, we didn't trade for James Harden, and in my last video, I gave my reasons why I was edging towards the idea that we trade for James Harden and include, obviously, Ben Simmons in that package, but we didn't. It was well documented that I think we had Ben Simmons on the table, but we didn't want to throw in Maxey, Matisse, and X amount of picks, which is understandable. I think that might be a bit excessive to have Simmons, Maxey, Matisse, and 3 or 4 first rounders. That is a bit much. But anyway, I digress. But we'll talk about Ben Simmons because for me, he had to respond in this game. He knew that people wanted him out the door. The people who had vehemently defended him, who had backed him, who had said, no, he doesn't need to shoot, he just needs to play his own game. The fans as well. Everyone who has backed him is starting to lose faith in him. So I think he had to come out and say, look, I can still bring something to the table. And we know he can, but he can bring something so invaluable that he can really get us over the line and get us to that championship level, which we're looking for. And I think today was a bit of a mixed bag. Look, the first few quarters were a bit touch and go. He didn't quite have the aggression we're after. Third quarter, he was fantastic. If he replicated his play in the third quarter and did that throughout, then I'd been very happy. He got a triple double. He got 10, 10, and 12. So can I complain too much? I guess not. No, but I still want a bit more. And it's not like I want more assists or more rebounds. He's always going to put those numbers up. It is simply, can you put up more field goal attempts? He was 4 of 8, which isn't that bad. 2 out of 2 from the line. He should be getting to the line a bit more, and I think he should be taking free throws more. I noticed as well, like when we set the picks for him to go around, there are a lot of opportunities we can turn the corner, come at pace, and go to the rim. But often he'll turn back and pass it out. And look, that's not always the worst idea in the world, because the thing is, he got 12 assists because he was doing such ideas, and he was kicking out to people for 3, like Danny Green, who was having a really hot night yet again. He was what? He was 3 for 6? No. He was more than that. He was 4 for 7 from 3. Again, another really solid shooting night for Danny Green. And also Shake Milton was firing. So, yeah, I can understand him wanting to kick it out, especially with the shooters in the form they're in. But I think there's going to come a point when you've got to be a bit selfish and be like, nah, I'm just going to get mine. Because at the end of the day, a shot at the rim from Ben Simmons is a lot more efficient than a corner 3 from Danny Green or Tobias Harris or whoever. It's just, you're more likely to drain those ones. So perhaps you should just believe in yourself a bit more that you can go and get these points, because we know he can. We know he can. And it's got to the point now where on any given night, Ben Simmons can get between 8 points and 35, which is just, you just don't know what you're going to get from the guy. And a lot of it is, what's his mentality going into the game? Is he going to be aggressive? Today, I don't think he was that aggressive. Third quarter, a bit more so, but I still want to see a bit more from him. Is he going to be aggressive? Is he going to be switched on? Is he going to really take it to him? On the fast break, is he going to be, ruthless? And I think this is an issue that we have in general on the fast break, is that we're just not very ruthless. We don't put them to the sword, and we often let them get away with a sloppy turnover or anything else, but that's a whole different story. But as far as the response I wanted from him, I don't think I can complain too much, but I do still want a bit more. That's all I'll say. Finished with 3 steals as well, some really good defensive plays. And like I said, the passes he was kicking out, there's a part of the reason why we won this game is because he creates space, he draws defenders in, and then kicks it out. And I think that can often go unnoticed, but when he doesn't play, it's very noticeable that we can't get teams to get open looks. There's a reason why we get open looks when Ben Simmons is on the floor. So that's Ben Simmons. He's going to be here for the foreseeable. But again, one thing I will just finish on with in relation to this is, I do genuinely think he will respond, and I do genuinely think that he will improve, because there's a huge shift in how this organization is ran. And I don't just mean because Daryl Morey's here. I mean because 18 months ago, a year ago, Ben Simmons got to the point where it's just like, we were desperate for Ben Simmons to sign that contract so he would stay with the Philadelphia 76ers. Now it's got to the point where if you don't buck up your ideas, we're willing to trade you. And that is a very weird and different dynamic shift, especially Ben Simmons. He realizes the ball is not in his court. We hold all the cards here, and if you don't do what we want you to do, look, there's going to be a trader available sometime down the line, and if you're not if you're not performing to the level we want you at, we're going to ship you off. And I think that's the crucial difference, that we never would entertain the idea of trading Ben Simmons beforehand. And simply now we are. Now we are. But again, I keep saying one final thing. One final thing I will say is that what I do not like is the fans who relish his failure. And I know some people he's a polarizing player. Some people might not like him. Some people might think, oh, he should be somewhere else. We should have someone else. We don't. He's a very good player. He can contribute a hell of a lot to this team. There is no reason why he can't improve to a level where he can pair with Joel Embiid and really push for a title. There's no reason why that can't happen somewhere down the line. So when people, are relishing his failures and want this trades to go through, like I see people say, "Oh, let's trade for Bradley Beal." Now, Bradley Beal doesn't push us over the line. People are threatened because this is now this big three in Brooklyn. If you think Bradley Beal and Joel Embiid and Tobias Harris all of a sudden puts us over the line, it doesn't. We're just going to have to calm down, take the emotion out of things. Everyone's still very high on emotion. People wanted James Harden, and I think reluctantly I did as well. But I still found myself at the end of it. People were saying, "Oh, it's so disappointing." But I still found myself at the end of this debacle being like, "Well, I'm still glad we got Ben Simmons. He's still he's our own draft pick. He's a Philadelphia guy, and ideally, I want to see Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons, win that trophy, not Joel Embiid and James Harden. I mean, look, I want to see the Philadelphia 76ers win the trophy. But if I had to talk about how ideally I would want it to go down, it would be with those two. Our two people that we drafted that we improved." Sorry about that. Someone had to come into the room for whatever reason, interrupt that. But anyway, we'll get back to it. So that's the Ben Simmons side of things. I think I've just about covered all bases and just about said what I feel about that front. This game was a lot more simpler than the last game against Miami. And this is what the first game should have been against Miami, in all honesty. Look, they're a good team. They had a couple good players, lingering. They still got Hero. They still had, Olynyk. They still had Robinson, who can put up numbers. I mean, that's just the way it is. They can still get numbers on any given night. They can get 30 points potentially. But we put them to the sword, and we put them to the sword early on, and that was just what you needed. And we had the guys returning, which I think was probably a bit of a difference maker, if that boosts confidence or just boost the team's ability to win, which I'm sure it did on both ends. But we had Tobias back, we had Shake back, and we had Matisse back. And ironically enough, there's people who were, obviously they couldn't play because of health protocols, and they came back and they look better. I mean, I'm not sure why. Maybe that's just a coincidence. Maybe it's because we're against a slightly poorer team, but they were fantastic, all of them. We'll start with Tobias. He didn't miss a beat. It was a very classic Tobias Harris game. 18 points, an efficient 18 points, 2 or 4 from the field. Didn't put a foot wrong. He was very, very good. Okay, Milton, he went off. I mean, again, this looked like Shake against the Clippers. He just couldn't miss. 31 points, 2 rebounds, 7 assists, 2 steals, 11 of 15 from the field, 3 or 4 from 3. He just couldn't miss. And I remember that there was just one towards the end of the first quarter where the shot clock was winding down. He puts up a bit of a hopeless one. It's a flat shot, no arc on it, and he just somehow drains it. And it's those sort of shots, when those go in, you realise that this is going to be our day a bit. But no, we came out intense, and we just kept going at them and at them and at them. And unfortunately, look, the Heat have 8 players, and I do feel sympathetic to them because obviously we've had that issue, and it's not fun, and they've been royally done over by the NBA. But it's we can only play the teams that are put in front of us, and we played well. That's as simple as that. I'm not going to get too ahead of myself. I'm not going to say, oh yeah, we're back in the game, we're going to win a championship, yada yada yada. But all you can do is just take what you've seen, and what I saw was very, very good. Joel didn't need to do too much. I know some people perhaps who only look at box scores will be like, oh, he only got 9 points, 5 rebounds, but he didn't need to do anything. And you could tell with the way he was rested that what Doc's plan was how can we win this game whilst using Joel Embiid as little as possible, and that's what happened. He only took 6 shots, he made 3 of them. He just didn't need to do that much. And after the game he had against the Heat the other night, I can't blame him if they think, yeah, let's just take the pressure off him a bit. Let's let other people come to the fore, let other people show what they got. And a hell of a lot of people came to play. Tyrese Maxey just did his thing again, 15 points. I mean, what a player. he's an NBA player already. He's been in the NBA for what, a month and a bit now, and he's an NBA player already, an established NBA player in my opinion, and he's going to be so crucial for this team. And when we link back to that James Harden trade, it's because of the former Tyrese Maxey, which I think deterred Daryl Morey from making that trade, from pulling the trigger. That 39-point game against the Nuggets and what he's done recently made a lot of people realize that, this guy's the real deal, and he can only improve and he can only help this team. And when you've got the likes of Tyrese Maxey, you've got the likes of Shake Milton and Isaiah Joe as well, he had another good game, on really nice contracts, multi-year contracts. Why would you want to trade those? Those are such good deals. Shake Milton's on about $1 million a year, and he's averaging just shy of 15 points, I believe now. That's an incredible deal to have in your arsenal, especially when you're in an era of the NBA where almost everyone seems to be getting overpaid. Those are such good deals to have, and you don't want to just trade them away. You've got to be really certain that what you're trading them for makes your team better. And look, James Harden individually makes his team better, but does that collect? If we send out those 3 for James Harden, does that make us better? I don't know. Probably, but in the long run, less so. But, what I enjoyed in the second quarter particularly was that often we find ourselves, that's the sort of time where we get lulled back in, and then the Heat would go on a run, and then they would be within 2, within 3, and then the game would start being competitive again. But we went for the jugular, we kept our foot on the gas, and we kept going at them to the point where at the half we were up 73-58. We were outscoring them in both of these quarters by a healthy margin, and the defense tightened up. And the first quarter was different because we scored 38, but we conceded 30, and I don't like the fact that our defense has seemingly gone a bit wayward recently. I want us to have a tight defense, because if you have a tight defense, you don't have to score as much. It's as simple as that. It's not difficult to figure out. And this defense did tighten up, and everyone was seemingly getting in on the action with regards to steals. Look, Simmons obviously got his 3 steals. Matisse got 4 steals in very limited minutes, but that's just what he does. He had a really great block as well. Everyone was playing intense defense. Isaiah Joe had a great block on Tyler Hero, and I will talk about Isaiah Joe now. He's in a couple of games now where he's really shown his worth. He's really shown that he can shoot. He was 4 from 8 from the field again, well, from 3 even, 12 points. Now, and some of these were very deep threes as well. They're not your run-of-the-mill, corner threes, easy does it sort of threes. These were some of these were very difficult threes. Now, we've shown that he can defend quite well. Look, sometimes he's a bit inexperienced, especially with when he fouls on the 3-point line. He did one today, and he did one in the last game. That'll just come with experience, and he'll iron those out, no doubt. He had a really nice play on Tyler Hero, and he said something really cool, is that because he's a bit, he's always been a smaller guy, he's got to bring that intensity, that, he's got to be that dog on the defensive end to try and get anywhere. And, that does mean he initiates contact a bit more because he's got to be the aggressive. At the same time, it means he's not just going to let anyone walk all over him. And he had a really cool block on Tyler Hero where he just swatted him away. I think Hero fancied himself against Joe, and Joe just stood his ground and, like I said, just blocked him away. Now, with Isaiah Joe, look, it's really still early days, and he's got a lot of development to do, and we've only had a small sample size. These last 3 games, I'm fairly certain this is Isaiah Joe being Isaiah Joe, but we don't quite know if this is just perhaps a bit of a nice run. We'll have to wait and see. But I think this is what he is at a very base level. He's only going to improve. Does this mean that Furkan Korkmaz is no longer required? Because Furkan Korkmaz, he's a very streaky shooter. So, one day he'll hit, 7 of 10 from 3, and another he'll hit 0 from 6. And I know people will say, well, that's what Danny Green's just done. But Furkan, it seems to be more so. But the thing with Danny Green, at the very least, is that he can at least give us perimeter defense. Furkan Korkmaz can't. If he's not hitting his threes, he won't offer anything else to this team. He's not a playmaker. He's not a slasher. And he's not a defender. Isaiah Joe, at the very least, is a long, lengthy defender. So if Joe continues in this way, and I'm sure Korkmaz will come back and we'll see how he goes again. But if Joe continues this way and Korkmaz is still the same Korkmaz, there comes a point where you realize we might not need Furkan Korkmaz, and then you maybe get a trade going somewhere. You think, because 3-point shooting is always an asset for any team. So could you package Mike Scott and Furkan Korkmaz for something? Now the one I've got in mind is, can you trade Mike Scott and Furkan Korkmaz for PJ Tucker, and then maybe two 2nd-round picks, and they may ask for more. But that will be what I'll go in for if we could, because we've got a really good backup 4, because we don't really have a backup 4 that's reliable. Look, Mike Scott had a good game the other day, but we know he's been a bit iffy. And even last season, he doesn't look quite like the Mike Scott we knew when we had Butler and all that. So just going to have to see on that. But Isaiah Joe could be a really useful piece and could enter this rotation. And this is one of the good things that's come out of this COVID stuff, is that he's shown his worth to the point where he can enter this rotation when everyone's fully fit. So that was the first half even. Third quarter is when Ben Simmons came alive, is when he showed what he should be doing in all four quarters, not just one. But this was a really fantastic quarter for him. I think he got, I want to say, four to six early points, and as a result of that, he finished with his triple double. Played a bit more in the fourth, but the game was won by the end of the third. We're 20 points up by the end of the third, 98-78. By the fourth quarter, it was just, you get the end of the bench in, have a good time watching those guys. One thing that did stand out to me is Paul Reed brought out his little Kareem Abdul-Jabbar skyhook. That was really fun. But, by the end of it, we finished 125-108, and it was just what we needed. Dispatch them early, get the starters off, don't tire out Embiid too much because he's already done enough as it is recently. And, get him on back, make sure no one, has another injury or makes an injury worse. Get it all done ASAP. Unfortunately, Mike Scott did get injured. Hopefully, I don't think it's going to be too bad, but he did get injured. But yeah, it was just a very workmanlike performance, a professional performance, and unfortunately, a lot of the times when we should be blowing out teams, we don't, as shown by the Miami game the other day. So this was a real nice game to have. It was stress-free, and you could just sit down and enjoy yourself. Is it still a bit annoying that you can't play the first teams, your best Miami team, because we want to see the best teams play the best teams? Yeah, it is, but this is just NBA basketball right now. You've got to sort of play COVID-stricken teams, and you've got to hope that we can get over the line and not have any, more outbreaks of COVID on our team. Look, Seth Curry's still out, and hopefully he'll be back very soon. But the team's just about starting to come back, and all we can hope is that we just keep going from strength to strength, get our form back together. Because unfortunately, that took a hit from this COVID outbreak. We've got to keep moving forward. We got the Grizzlies next. They're going to be a bit iffy. I'm not sure if Jar's going to be back for that. I know Jaren Jackson isn't. This is a game we probably should win, but it's going to be tough nonetheless. They're a good team, Memphis, and we've lost to worse teams already this season, indeed last season. So we've got to be on our best game. And then it's OKC after that. Al Horford revenge game. That'll be fun to see. But, this is just a good professional performance. I'm not going to get too ahead of myself. It was just a good performance. And what I wanted to see from this game, I saw. I believe that. From Ben Simmons, from people returning, Tobias, from Shake, Maxey and Joe going from strength to strength. I saw what I needed to see today. And that's about as good as you can really expect in these sort of games. But anyway, that's me done for the day. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. It's greatly appreciated. And I'll see you against Memphis on Saturday. Thanks very much, guys. I'll see you all soon.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.